Welcome to a bonus edition of Behind the Mic with AudioFile Magazine. I'm Joe Reed, and I have Robin with me, as she has been this whole week. But today, we are talking about 3 books that are centered on a theme. And Robin, take it away from here.
Well, just for something different this week, I'm going to talk about Chinese food and the cuisines of China. A little voyage with 3 audiobooks. So I think you better grab your chopsticks.
Okay, so what are the books that we're talking about? Where are we beginning?
All right, I'm going to start with a new children's book, a very short and very sweet title called A Banquet for Cecilia. How Cecilia Chiang Revolutionized Chinese Food in America by Julie Leung and read by Cindy Kay.
Well, Cindy Kay has certainly done a lot of audiobooks, but tell me about this one. It just came out, so I haven't heard it yet.
Well, it is about Cecilia Chiang, and started one of the first restaurants in San Francisco's Chinatown that really was after representing authentic Chinese cuisine.
So she really opened up our ideas in America about what Chinese food really is.
That's right, and I'd never heard of her, and to be introduced in this really lovely way, in a short program that is, for young children, but, it is still of interest to adults. Learned about her, where she came from, how she started her love of food, and then Cindy Kay has the most beautiful accent with all the Chinese names, which she gives about the food, and with a beautiful pronunciation that I think they're original Mandarin pronunciations that she's using, as well as the common names of the dishes that, America knows on a Chinese menu, which we'll talk about in a second.
Well, why don't we hear a little bit so we get a sense of the flavor of the book?
Yes. Well, this is about what Cecilia put onto her first menu when she opened in the 1960s in San Francisco, her restaurant, The Mandarin.
Okay, this is A Banquet for Cecilia: How Cecilia Chiang Revolutionized Chinese Food in America. It's by Julie Leung and read by Cindy Kay.
During a time when Chinese food in America was seen as cheap and greasy, Cecilia Chiang served dishes that showcased the best of her homeland. She encouraged her diners to be open to something new and different. Her first menu at the Mandarin included this introduction. Imagine you are a Chinese family. It was a simple but revolutionary ask: to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Perhaps a seventh daughter who once lived in a palace, peering into the kitchen to see the banquet emerge.
So there's music.
Yes, there's a lovely little bit of music kind of going through all of the story.
So that is a great beginning. Okay, what's the second book?
So the next one switches up a little bit to an invitation to a banquet. The Story of Chinese Food from Fuchsia Dunlop and read by the author. And you and I talked about Invitation to a Banquet on a previous episode. And what was so interesting about Fuchsia is that she is British.
Yes.
So we had American Chinese food, introducing Chinese food to America. And this is much more about in the introduction of Chinese food and a history of Chinese cuisines, but from the perspective of the UK.
Fuchsia Dunlop is so charming and so delightful, both in this book. I've heard her interviewed on NPR. I could listen to her forever. And she really came at this in a lot of ways as a scholar.
Absolutely. So it takes a very different approach. You're getting quite a bit more historical context, but she's so appreciative of the Chinese culture and the diverse cuisines from all over different parts of China. Very interesting.
Well, let's hear just a little bit so people get a sense of Fuchsia and her style because I adore her.
Well, this is again from a child's perspective. Fuchsia is talking about when she and her sister first had Chinese food as children in London.
Okay, this is Invitation to a Banquet, the story of Chinese food by Fuchsia Dunlop, read by Fuchsia Dunlop.
My sister and I are beside ourselves with excitement. A Chinese takeaway is a rare treat, a change from our mother's usual home-cooked food and a chance to mess around with chopsticks. Those stacked foil containers exhaling the scents of soy sauce and ginger. A set of dishes: prawn chop suey, chicken with tinned bamboo shoots, chunky chow mein threaded with bean sprouts, floppy pancake rolls stuffed with more bean sprouts, egg fried rice. It is all delicious, but no dish pleases us more than the sweet and sour pork balls, our eternal favourite. There are never enough.
Oh my God, did you just hear my stomach growl? I am ravenous. This is so amazing. It's amazing. She is not just a wonderful writer, but a really good narrator, especially for an author.
Yes, very clear, and I love her accent and her whole pacing. She really wants to help us learn.
Okay, so how are you completing?
Well, if you were ready for your next Chinese meal, this one will seal the deal. And I have to tell you that I did, in preparation for our conversation today, we went out for Chinese food last night. So I know what I'm talking about when I tell you about the Chinese menu, the history, myths, and legends behind your favorite foods by Grace Lin and read by Lisa Ling.
Now, I think Emily and I might have talked about this book. I know I talked about this book with one of the contributors. It came out in 2023.
Yes, and I had not listened to it before, but I actually had given the print edition, which is absolutely beautiful with Grace Lynn's many illustrations and her wonderful timelines and just a beautiful accompaniment to her story of many stories and fables about different elements of our Chinese cuisine, including tea, chopsticks, dumplings, egg rolls, fortune cookies, everything you wanted to know. And then you get these wonderful stories that some are real history that it has been substantiated. Some of them are tales, fabulous tales. Some of them are long-standing fables and part of the Chinese culture. It's full of traditions and wonderful descriptions of the food. And this was also put together for a children's book, but really it's a family book. And I don't even think you have to have other people listening to it with you. Um, it's a great introduction and a love letter.
And Grace Lynn is a prolific author.
She is. We know her from her many children's books and middle grade books, and she has a new middle grade book coming out in just this month called The Gate, the Girl, and the Dragon.
Lovely. Well, why don't we hear a little from Chinese menu?
Yes, let's go back and again have those chopsticks ready. This is about dumplings.
This is Chinese menu. It's by Grace Lynn, read by Lisa Ling.
Chinese dumplings might be my favorite food ever. I can eat them anytime, night or day, sitting up or lying down. And I love all the different types of Chinese dumplings, including wonton with its delicate skin, mentioned in the soup section, the round, squat pork and shrimp shumai found at dim sum, and the famous xiaolongbao soup dumplings bursting with steaming liquid as you eat them. It's impossible to count how many kinds of Chinese dumplings there are, and each kind is not only filled with meat and vegetables, but also with legends, traditions, and cultural significance.
I really am hungry. That's so charming. And a word about Lisa Ling, who we know as a journalist, as somebody who does reporting on television.
Right. And we have on our AudioFile website, we have a wonderful interview with Grace and Lisa in conversation. which you can read about and have a copy of the Chinese menu on hand.
Well, those are 3 great selections. Thank you so much, Robin. I think it's wonderful to sort of have a roundup that you put together thematically, and I am always there for food.
We are ready, and I have my chopsticks for my next Chinese meal.
And just to sum up, we talked about Chinese Menu by Grace Lin, read by Lisa Ling, Invitation to a Banquet, written and read by Fuchsia Dunlop, and A Banquet for Cecilia by Julie Leung, read by Cindy Kay. And now I'm going out for lunch. Robin, I hope you have a great day.
Yes, great. Thank you so much, Joe.
Support for Behind the Mic comes from Dreamscape, the publisher of The Tenant, by #1 New York Times bestselling author Frida McFadden, narrated by Will Dameron and Christine Lakin. Discover your next great listen at dreamscapepublishing.com. Behind the Mic is produced by Jessica Lockhart, Robin Whitten, Michelle Cobb, Stephen Cummings, Leslie Fine, Alan Minskoff, Alex Ritchie, Laura Rossi, and Kendra Winchester are our contributors. Jennifer Dahl is our editor, and the music is William Ross Chernoff's Nomads 4-Way. And I'm your host, Joe Reed. Good listening.